4.
Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. That is Public Access TV. My name's Dirk Keller. Our good friend Pat White is back.
Good to see you, Dirk.
Good to have you back. Bud Supple's back. He survived Mother's Day, and here he is. Earle Murphy's always here because it's his show. And we've got a very special guest today. Abby Emmert is the Director of Basketball Operations for the University of Iowa Hawkeye women's basketball team. She's a former Hawkeye basketball player, letter winner, team captain, I believe.
Big Ten champion.
Big Ten champ, all kinds of stuff.
Record.
All kinds of good
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we're going to talk about Hawkeye women's basketball in just a little bit, but before we do, we have to mention the Hawkeye baseball team. Just swept the arch-rival Minnesota Gophers at home last weekend, the last home series of the regular season. They are now ranked 13th in the nation. Their record is 37-12 overall, 18-3 in the conference, which is just amazing. I mean, this hasn't happened in a long time. And they're going to go on the road this weekend to Rutgers. Rutgers doesn't have a very accomplished team. Rutgers is 17-34 overall, and they are 5-16 in the Big Ten. The Rutgers series and all the Big Ten series this weekend are Thursday through Saturday.
Oh, they moved them up.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why.
Well, probably to try to get a day's extra time before the NCAA regionals.
Or maybe for rainouts? I don't know.
Well, that could be too.
I don't know. I don't remember them ever doing that before.
I don't. Well,
I think the Big Ten tournament starts on the following
Is it Wednesday? Oh my, wow.
So I think they maybe moved up.
And then I think most of your schools are out after Saturday.
Oh yeah,
So if they want them to stay,
yeah.
won't stay around.
Well, they're sticking around.
Hey, we
Not
just haven't
70.
noticed.
Yeah.
It's been so long since we've been in contention.
It's been so fun, and I got to see Sam Logic throw out the first pitch this weekend. I think that was Saturday. And she threw it pretty well, too. So congratulations to the Hawkeye baseball team.
One of the things that's interesting about this, it has been a long time, but when I was, this is a long time ago, when I was in school, Minnesota was the be-all and end-all of Big Ten baseball. I mean, they won it virtually every year.
Yeah.
And their program obviously has declined over time.
They've got the same coach they've had, John Anderson, for, golly, I think 20-plus years. So they just didn't have the pitching this year. Their ace went Friday night, and he got roughed up eventually. And then Saturday and Sunday were just pretty much blowouts. But Illinois is still the toast of the conference. They've lost one game. I noticed something else, too, that was interesting. There are several Big Ten teams that have completed the conference season already. They've played 3 more games than everybody else.
Well, it would be hard to schedule 13 teams.
Yeah, I guess
somebody's got to sit out every weekend.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So I know Michigan is done. They're playing Oklahoma State this weekend, which is interesting. But Illinois is hosting Nebraska, which, and I spelled Illinois correctly, Illannoy.
You didn't parentheses.
Dirty stinking cheating. Rotten Illini. They are hosting Nebraska, who is a surprising 9-12 in the conference. Usually they're one of the power teams in the conference. They've got a pretty decent record overall, 34-19. It would be really sweet if they could upset the Illini a couple times this weekend and hand the conference to the Hawks. The Hawks have played one more game than the Illini, who got rained out against Indiana a couple weeks ago. So.
But
Big
any
weekend.
team that scores 28 points in a ball game is pretty good.
Well, in baseball, they score runs, bud.
Illinois up to like 24 in a row now?
They lost their second game of the conference season to Michigan State and haven't lost since.
I just assume they won this weekend and give us a chance to give them their first defeat in the Big Ten tournament.
It would be sweet if that happens. They have won, if my math is right, 18 in a row.
I think they're higher than that.
Really?
I do there.
Well, if they're 19-1, oh, they must have played. Oh, of course, because they had non-conference games in the middle. Yeah, of course. 18 straight conference games, which is
Now, is the
impressive.
Big Ten tournament in Minnesota?
Yeah, and Minnesota might not make it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
If it ended today, they'd be out because they take the top 8 teams, and Minnesota is 9th. But again, it's kind of screwy with some of the teams getting rained
Are
out.
they playing this weekend? Are they one of the teams?
I think they are, yeah, they are, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so, and then we have to give a shout out to the women's softball team at the university. They didn't have a great season, they didn't have a great conference season either. They had some, I think, significant upsets late in the season, and then they went into the Big Ten tournament and won their first 2 games. Lost to eventual runner-up Nebraska, but it was a good game. I think at the end of the first inning, let's see, Nebraska batted first, so at the end of the top of the inning, first inning, Hawks were down, what was it, 5-0. And you thought, oh boy. And then the Hawks come back in the first inning, and they scored, I forget, 3 or 4 runs.
4 runs.
And then Minnesota went up 9-4, I think, and the Hawks came back and scored a couple more and made a good game of it. They had a couple runners on in the last inning, and I think,
Isn't Blank something else?
what's that?
She's something else.
Who's that?
Blank?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, they need her. They needed her.
Jim Blank used to work for us.
Oh, that's right. That's his, is that his daughter or granddaughter?
His daughter.
Daughter, okay.
And they came over Friday or Saturday, I guess it was Friday afternoon, and we had beaten,
They beat Minnesota.
no, who was it?
The first game, who did they?
Rutgers.
Rutgers, there we go. Yeah.
And she got a double play all herself. She got caught, I mean,
Unassisted.
oh, yes, unassisted.
Well, they did a good job to end the season, and hopefully that'll save Marla Looper's job.
You know, they had a picture taken of all of us.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and Jim was telling her, I'm not bragging now, how I got him started, and I did this and that, and I looked at her, and here are big tears coming out of her eyes.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, and
Did Joe take pictures of it?
no, he wasn't there.
What does he do, Murph?
What?
What
Jim
does
Blank.
He sells clothes out there
Is he in Des Moines?
in L.A.
Oh,
Oh, L.A.
Yeah,
selling to the stars, is he?
yeah, and she's from L.A.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and she was real sweet.
Well, it was a fun weekend for
Yes.
baseball and softball, and we'll look forward to what happens for the men's
And
baseball
getting good
team.
crowds.
Oh, gosh, there were 2,000 people there.
That's right.
Saturday, Friday, not quite as many, but it was still a good house.
But you have to remember, it was cold.
It wasn't bad.
Oh,
Friday night? Oh,
Yeah,
Sunday.
wind blew that.
Sunday. Well, the nice thing about Sunday is the game was on the Big Ten Network.
Yeah.
And I really
So
enjoyed
you could
watching
stay
that.
home.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
It was Mother's Day too. It was hard to get a
Yeah,
crowd out. But I wanted to just watch and see what they had to say about our team, and it was really I thought they were very generous to the Hawks, very complimentary. And the same with the softball game. I watched that Saturday
we were
night.
playing Minnesota.
They played Minnesota, who was seeded number 2 in the conference. They played them Friday night.
Yeah,
Yeah, and whooped them.
yeah.
I got to see the tail end of that after the baseball game was over. So
That was on TV too?
yes, all the softball games were on TV, and I think all the Big Ten baseball tournament games will be on TV too. I know this weekend that the Hawks aren't on TV. They've got Illinois twice on
Is
Friday.
baseball the tournament double elimination?
Yes.
But
Yes, it
the
is.
Softball's only single.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Did they take all the softball teams? Do you know?
I think they take 12,
Oh.
just 12.
Huh. Does everybody have
Do they all
softball?
play?
I believe so.
Do they? Yeah. I know Wisconsin doesn't have baseball, which is
I
weird, but
can't believe that.
yeah. Well. So we're going to talk about women's basketball. We're going to talk about Abby Emmert. I guess the first thing I think our viewers would like to know is a little bit about your job as Director of Basketball Operations. What are your day-to-day duties?
Right. Well, I think the best way to kind of describe my job is I try to do a little bit of everything so that the coaches can focus on coaching and the players can focus on playing. So I take care of a lot of the day-to-day scheduling as far as practices, facilities, meal times, communicating all of that with everyone that is a part of our program, which is quite a big group of people.
How do you communicate that?
It's actually, I've been doing this for 6 years, and it's changed a little bit over the 6 years. We generally hand out just a plain paper calendar at the start of the month that has laid out kind of what our plan is. Now, of course, things change a little bit more, and then technology makes it easier to keep up with those changes. So we do now have an app that they all have on their phone and their iPads. That makes it pretty easy to, if a bus is late or the plane got moved back a little bit, to shoot out a message to everyone, and it goes out just like that. So that's nice. We try not to take advantage of it. Of course, they, have school they're trying to take care of, and their social lives and different appointments. So we try to set at the beginning of the month what we're going to do and stick to that as best as possible for them so that they can plan everything else accordingly. But that probably takes, just on a day-to-day basis, that is a big part of my job, because we do have, an equipment manager, a video person, sports information, all kinds of different people that are helping with our program that I then communicate all of that with as well. The bigger picture of my job, I do handle the scheduling of all the non-conference home games.
Really?
Yep, so finding where we're gonna go over Thanksgiving, whether we're going tropical or staying in the States, and then getting the different teams to come into Carver Hawkeye Arena, which is a really fun challenge.
bet.
Get to talk to quite a few different people and meet a lot of different people.
You did a great job getting St. Ambrose in here for the exhibition game. Lisa's old school, Sam's little sister, Samantha Logic.
Right.
That was just really special, I thought.
Yep, had a good storyline, and I think we have another good exhibition game lined up for this year.
Can you tell us?
I suppose
Okay.
I can, or I don't. Upper Iowa is going to come in, so similar type of thing. We have,
Peacocks.
we have incoming freshman whose sister is actually on that team as well. So,
Oh, really?
Yep.
Which freshman?
Megan Gustafson from Wisconsin,
And she's got an older sister?
older sister that is at Upper Iowa.
I'll be darned.
Is Logic got her position, or she signed, or?
With Atlanta?
Yep.
Yeah.
She was
Okay.
drafted and signed with the Atlanta Dream. So,
I was looking at their website, and it looks like she's going to keep her number 22.
no, that
I
would be
thought, yeah. I thought that was interesting. We were debating that yesterday at the commercial shoot. If that was
Yeah.
an automatic for first-round draft picks. And as coaches, you must be just thrilled. Speaking of Samantha Logic, first-round draft pick, number 10 overall, went to the Atlanta Dream, and she seemed pretty happy about it.
She was, yeah. She's one of those, definitely, I think all of our players would love to go on and play in the WNBA, but she's the one that, right away as a young kid, that truly was her dream, is
That's so.
Well,
to go.
well, every game she makes an outstanding play.
Quite a few of them,
Oh,
actually,
God.
yeah.
Her freshman year seems like it was yesterday. And we
Yeah.
knew about her when she came in. We knew she was pegged for good things, and she sure did it right. It was just a thrill to watch her play, and it's going to be a different team without her. You lose 4 seniors, and that's not easy to replace. We've heard a lot about the 4 seniors on the women's team and what they contributed, and it's kind of like starting over again next year.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you talk about basketball and teams, and it's all kind of a puzzle, always trying to get it to fit together. And I think this year you really saw we had all the right pieces as far as how we run our offense and what we're trying to do. We had Sam, who could obviously do a little bit of everything, but was able to really kind of break people down and attack the rim. And then when they try to take that away, then you've got Melissa on the outside, who not only makes a ton of shots, but is just always willing to take a shot, so that a lot of people had to just stand next to her. And
Yeah, I get a kick out of her. She shoots that left-handed hook, and she does it with about 3 people blocking.
Yeah.
yep.
And she's got the quickest release.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Does she have a chance at the WNBA?
She didn't get invited to any
Okay.
camp at this point. She's working on an overseas contract and
Really?
lining up something there.
And speaking of overseas, what I've learned is that the WNBA allows their players to play in Europe once their season here is over. That season starts pretty soon. Sam, I know, has to leave Sunday, day after graduation, and head to Atlanta.
When does the WNBA season end? How many games do they play, do you know?
It's like, it's not even 50, is it?
No, it's a shorter season. I believe it is wrapped up right at the beginning of October sometime, mid-September, October.
Interesting that some of the European teams now are prohibiting their players from playing in the WNBA.
Really?
Yep.
The outstanding guard, Diana Taurasi, for example, who plays, I think, in Russia, her team said they didn't want her to play in the WNBA, which probably also means she's making decent money.
They make way
They-
more over there,
yeah,
don't
and
they?
they actually paid her to not play in the
Yeah,
WNBA.
right.
They paid her, additional money.
Wow,
So,
getting serious. And Bethany Doolittle, does she have European aspirations?
she does, and she did sign a contract to play in France.
Really?
Yep, that was late last week that I think that all kind of went through, so.
Nothing in the paper that I saw about that.
Northern France.
Do you know where?
Northern France is what I heard, so I'm not sure exactly.
Oh,
what
that's
the-
great. What a great experience.
Oh, yeah, and she's the type of person, it was her freshman year as she was coming in that we went over on our European tour, and she had already been overseas once or twice. She's a very cultured individual, and so she'll really be someone that takes advantage of having that opportunity
That's
to
great.
be overseas.
She really improved over the years, from freshman year to senior year. Real pleasure to watch her take over a game. It's, wow.
Yeah.
And she'll be hard to replace.
She will, yeah.
So, we've lost 4 seniors, including, is Catherine, is she sticking around here to go to med school?
Law school.
Law school, yep.
Or law school?
She
Good.
finished her first year. I think she just finished her finals last week. So she felt good about that. And she has an internship in Cincinnati this summer. She'll be working on baseball, something there with the Reds.
Her dad is a
Oh.
Reds employee,
That's
Reds
right.
scout, I think
Yeah.
is
Yep.
what he does. Catherine actually would have had another year's worth of eligibility, but I don't know how she did it this year.
Yeah.
It's just almost impossible, and she's suffered enough injuries that
Yeah.
it really slowed her development. But she played very well in the Game Time League last summer.
As long as I live, I'll never forget senior day at
That
Carver
was
Hawkeye.
quite a
Yeah,
day.
that was a-
And she gets the ball, last play of the game, and Lisa's trying to call timeout. Catherine puts it up, 3-pointer.
Well, there's just a
Drained it.
great picture of Catherine releasing the ball, Lisa in the background with her.
Yeah, that's right.
That was great. That was a really special day that time. Who did we play? I might
Minnesota.
remember. Yeah,
Minnesota.
of course. With
Yep.
Zoe B, whatever. And she was number 2? Was she
Second pick,
Yeah.
yep.
Second
Yep.
pick.
Number 2 pick in the WNBA draft. Thank
she's
goodness.
big.
Yeah, that's,
And wide.
I'm so glad she left.
that was kind of unique for women's basketball for
Yeah.
us as a staff. Just hadn't really crossed our minds, and we got that news, and it was pretty exciting news.
Yeah.
Well, she was a year old, she had redshirted a year.
Yep, an
Now,
international.
what her actual age is, I'm not certain, but coming from Sweden, she could have been older than the average college freshman when she redshirted.
I think you have to be 22 during the year of the draft, and that's when you can become eligible. So,
You have to be 22. Huh.
yeah.
Now, the NBA obviously isn't that old, but well, that's interesting. So, as director of basketball operations, you have to coordinate schedules and practices and meals. What is the most popular meal amongst the women's players?
Oh, they would laugh. They would say grilled chicken and potatoes and beans because that's what we
That's what
have
they
the
get.
majority of the time. We try to work with we have a nutritionist on staff that works he's in the weight room. So we try to work with him, kind of a 90-10 type of rule. 90% of the time we're going to be eating a very healthy, lean meal, something that's going to refuel their bodies and prepare them for the next day. And then 10% of the time, then we're doing some things a little differently. And in that 10% of the time, probably say like a barbecue with, macaroni and cheese and the cornbread
Pizza.
and ribs is pretty popular.
That sounds good.
Or more of a high-calorie Italian.
What about steak?
They do love steak also,
Yeah.
yes. When we
Steak
go
would
out
be
to...
right up there.
Yep, we have a hard time, a lot of our meals are catered in, so steak is a little bit harder in that situation,
Yeah.
but when we go out, which we do on the road quite a bit, then there seem to be a lot of steaks being ordered.
How was the
Can you
new,
book all those places? Let's say you're on the road and you go together to a restaurant? Is that your booking?
Yep.
Buses?
Yep, all the travel,
Tables.
so, yep.
That's a lot of
playing.
work.
It can be, yeah, the travel days can be a little bit stressful, just getting everything ready to go, you get on the plane, and the most stressful part is always making sure, as soon as we land, I'm looking out the windows, making sure that other bus is there to pick us up, and it has been every time so far in 6 years, and,
Right.
but then we hop on, a lot of times we'll go out to a restaurant before getting to the hotel, so.
Do you have a central transportation agency that you deal with, or you're in 12 places a year? Are you dealing with 12 different transportation companies?
There are a few that we'll deal with on multiple trips. Like there's one based in West Lafayette that handles us when we're at Purdue, at Michigan State, and I believe they actually come over to Illinois if we fly there. So they handle a few of them, but for the most part it's different companies each time. But over time I've built pretty good relationships with a lot of the people we use.
How about planes? You have one company you deal with?
Yep, when we do our charter flights, it's one company that sets those up. And men's and women's basketball, and I believe volleyball use the same company, so.
How is the new basketball court working
The
out?
practice facility?
Yeah.
Practice facility. It's been really, really nice. It's one of those things where you think back to how you did it before and you wonder how you ever did do it. But what we try to do between men's and women's basketball and volleyball is we still try to have separate practice times. So in the fall semester, we go 9 to noon in the morning. Volleyball would go after that, and then men's basketball after that. We have now the flexibility if there's some class issues with that we can adjust slightly, and two teams
Is that
can be
your
going at
job,
once.
the class, to work out class issues?
We do have an academic advisor that they meet with that helps them schedule, their classes and their 4-year plan. But when there is a class conflict, then I'll get involved and we make sure we've exhausted all options, and then we go and say, okay, on this day we're gonna have to adjust this way. And so it can be difficult. We have, we've had a little more difficulty with it lately, and I think because of good reason. We have a highly successful academic team. They are very driven on what they want to do, and a lot of them have come in with quite a few credits. So instead of having a team with a lot of freshmen and sophomores and a few juniors, seniors, we're dealing with, the sophomores, juniors, and seniors are all in a situation where they have certain classes they have to take because they're so far along.
And wasn't Iowa the only team in the Big Ten to have 2 all-conference, all-academic Big Ten players?
We actually had the all-conference, we had 7 of the 10 eligible players make academic all-conference.
And 2 All-American.
2 All-American.
That's what it
Yep.
Only team in the country.
Yeah.
Only team in the
In the
country.
There's only
And who were
15
they?
athletes on the academic All-American. We had 2 of them. Allie Disterhoff,
Allie?
who was the only sophomore to
Yes.
make it,
Wow.
and then Sam Logic was on that team as well.
Her hand bothered her.
Oh,
Yeah,
you could tell.
it did. It bothered her all season,
Yeah.
and then she had gosh, it was before we played Wisconsin, which I can't
Oh.
remember when that was, but where it actually tore, and so that caused her quite a bit of pain, and she really toughed it out. I mean,
That's her shooting hand, too.
yep.
I don't know how she did it.
So
Oh.
She said she had surgery after the season, and I'm
Was it successful?
assuming she's
Was it?
prohibited from using it probably during the summer.
yep, she was in a cast. Now she's in a brace that's a little more mobile, but still keeps that thumb pretty straight up, and she'll be out for most of the summer.
I had that surgery, and let me tell you, besides painful, it takes a while to get your mobility and strength back. But it wasn't my dominant hand.
Were you a big double-digit scorer at the time you had this surgery?
No. This was a softball injury post-college, and I dove for a fly ball in the outfield playing mush ball and snapped that thing back, and I didn't even realize it. I got down for the next batter, and in my stance, and my thumb started going backwards. Ugh. And then the next batter hit a fly ball to me, and I caught it and said, I think I need to go to the doctor.
Well, Allie rather, is a very impressive young woman,
Sure is.
academically, athletically.
Well, and I think probably most of us know her parents, and
Yeah.
Now, is it your job to
They're no
contact
slouches.
all these players then after they get it all fixed out?
As far as their classes go, or
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you have to talk to them, or does that advisor
No, I think it's a little bit mix of both. He helps them, I don't necessarily know all of the options that they
Right,
have
right.
as far as which classes they can take, but they'll usually come into my office and we'll talk through, like, for example, Allie is so highly achieving academically. She was accepted into the Hawkinson Institute, it's called. It's a kind of a class. I'm not defining it very well, but it meets every Friday, right during our practice time, essentially, that we had in the spring semester. So she came to me with that and said I was accepted into this. Very few sophomores are accepted into the program, and she explained, how this is going to help her in her career and what she wants to do and how. I kind of worked with her through that, talked with her professor, she met with them and explained there might be a few times that she's gonna have to choose practice because of traveling or because of the Big Ten tournament, but for the most part that our coaching staff was gonna work with her to let her get out of practice and get over to that
Fantastic.
course. So, yeah,
That
there's.
worked out for her?
Yes,
good.
yeah, I think it worked out really well, and we're gonna be doing it for the next 2 years now too, because she
Yeah.
stays in it.
Still on
That's a
Fridays,
way.
always on the
Always
Fridays
on,
of spring
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, so,
Ugh, that's too bad.
but it's a great opportunity for her, and that's a credit to her, the way she went about handling it as well, so.
So we've lost 4 seniors. Give us an idea of what the starting 5 will look like next year.
That one, I would have to say probably no
Talk to
comment,
Lisa?
but yeah.
Okay.
But I can definitely tell you a little bit about what we have back and who's coming in,
Yeah,
if that's
please.
okay. All right. Well, obviously, Allie Distroff, she was our leading scorer last year, and she'll be expected to do quite a bit. She was named a captain by our team.
Junior captain?
Yeah.
Wow.
Some of these things I'm not so sure that they're out yet, but we'll. And then Kelly Peschel was a great 6th player for us last year. She actually was 2nd on our team in 3-point field goal percentage. So we'll see if she can kind of step in a little bit where Melissa Dixon left off.
Samantha told me yesterday that Callie can spin a basketball on all 4 fingers and thumb.
Well, that's how she first came to the attention of basketball coaches around the country.
Yeah.
In fact, this group, I don't remember the name of it, from Minnesota, has been here a couple of times.
Alexandria Aces.
That's it.
Yeah. They're amazing to watch.
Yeah.
It's halftime entertainment. They do a lot of that during the basketball
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would have never thought that about
She
her.
can
Very
spin
skilled.
and do a somersault, and I mean, she can do all kinds of.
You could do that, couldn't you? No?
I don't think I ever could do that. I could juggle the basketballs, but
Yeah?
yeah, I never could.
How many?
Just 3. But I could do a
not bad.
basketball, a softball, and a grape, and eat the grape at
Really?
one point. I don't know. Hopefully
America's
we don't
Got
have those
Talent.
anymore.
Practice, you keep those skills active.
I would be willing to try it again.
We
but-
should have brought a basketball, baseball, and a grape in here. No, Joe, come on, you're letting us down. Let's see. So who else is back?
So then Chase Coley, she backed up Bethany a little bit last year. Shot 65% from the field, was actually our leading field goal percentage. Great shot blocker and very mobile. A similar post as Bethany. She's not going to be as strong, but she's very mobile and can also knock down. Our offense gets you a lot of those 15-foot jump
Yeah.
shots, and that's a strength of hers as well.
Do you expect her to show the same kind of improvement that Bethany showed?
We do, definitely. She's, it's always kind of hard your freshman year knowing exactly what to expect, and you kind of get put into a role that, they're not recruited to come here to be role players, and so then all of a sudden they are when you have such a talented senior class, and so it takes a little bit of adjustment for them, but then you hit this time of year and they can really see where that playing time is up for grabs, and you really see them starting to buy in. And
Do you think it's harder to adjust for a bigger woman, a tall woman, a post? Or
not-
develop, maybe not adjust, but
Yeah.
develop. Is there more room for growth there?
I think
I
kind
look
of
at
with
Morgan Johnson and then Bethany, and I just saw that growth each year with them.
Well, I think, our trend has been kind of a thinner, more agile post. And so I think the growth for them has definitely come in the weight room when they're able to get some weight on and some strength. Then they're not able to be pushed off the block as much. They're able to keep their ground and then use their agility, against their opponent that way.
And so who else is back?
Whitney Jennings, I should have mentioned her.
Yeah.
She's fast.
She is. She's one of the fastest, and I think you really saw her starting to come on again for her. A different role. She's a great scorer in high school and had the ball in her hands all the time, and now she's getting thrown in with I think Melissa, Bethany, and Sam left as the Big Ten's all-time highest scoring trio. So
Really?
here she's in with that group, and she's kind of figuring out who to get the ball to and how to run our offense and the system. And then I think at the end of the year, you started to see her really seeing, showing a little more what she can do. And this summer, you're going to see a lot of that. And into next fall, she'll be taking on more of a scoring role for us, more of an aggressive mind frame.
Now, speaking of summer basketball, I know the coaches aren't allowed to be there. Does that hold for you as well?
It does, yep. I have quite a few rules actually on my position. I actually can't, do game time, and then I also can't watch any high school basketball. I can't go to any high school basketball games, even if it were
family member?
If it were my son or daughter. I
That's
could.
it?
That's it, yeah. There are some, exceptions if you have prior relationships, or if I was going back to Winterset for some special occasion, I'm sure I could get it exempt. But for the most part, I'm not supposed to be in any high school gyms, which is unfortunate. And just sometimes, even around here, we have great basketball in the area. It'd
No
be
kidding.
nice to just go watch a couple games just for the fun of it. But
I didn't
and they
know.
do that. The reasoning behind that is just so schools, not every school has someone in my position, and so then if I were out, using it as a recruiting advantage, then
This might
would
be out of place, but are you going to invite the sports opinion people to your wedding?
We're not going to talk about it. You mentioned Winterset. You grew up in the hometown of John Wayne.
yes.
Tell us about life in Winterset.
It was great.
Yeah?
It was a really great place to grow up. Kind of, small town, but still close to Des Moines there, so it had kind of enough going. And even now, Winterset just got a high V, so it's a growing community, which makes it fun to go back and visit and see
Where does the growth come from?
Des Moines,
Des Moines.
West Des Moines, kind of stretching out that way. Jordan Creek Mall is about 20 minutes,
Oh, that's it?
25 minutes, so it's definitely coming that direction.
So you played basketball at Winterset. I think I read on one of your bios you started all 4 years. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually really kind of a fun thing. My freshman year, we had a new coach. When I was in 8th grade, the girls basketball team had kind of struggled. I think they had won 2 games in the 2 years prior to
Wow.
my freshman season, and just didn't have a real culture around the girls basketball. Well, we got this new coach, and then my freshman year we won 10 games with a couple seniors that were great leaders, and so it was a big turnaround to go from 2 wins in 2 years to 10 games. And
Who was your high school coach?
Doug Messerschmidt was his name. He actually just stepped down from coaching at Winterset.
Did he really?
Last summer, so last year. But so we won 10 games that first year, and then by my senior year, I think we went 23-3, and we lost in the sub-state final. But we had one of those games where felt like the whole town was there watching you and cheering you on, and
That's
so that was
blessed.
just a cool journey to go from where we started and see where we ended up.
Tell us why you came to Iowa to play.
I also played softball in high school.
I was going to
so,
ask.
and we had a great
What
softball
position?
team. Shortstop.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Strong arm?
Yeah, did have a strong arm.
All right.
I did 1 year of baseball when I was younger, and I was a pitcher when I did the baseball, so I had kind of the big wind-up throw across, but
right.
threw it hard enough to get there. But so I didn't do a whole lot of AAU, just did maybe 1 or 2 tournaments because I was playing softball, of course. So I decided kind of early on that I just wanted to stay in state. I didn't have a lot of interest in going far away.
You were all state your senior year, right?
Yep.
So who else recruited you?
I was getting recruited by Iowa State and Drake when I decided I wanted to stay in state. Prior to that, I was talking to, Michigan State, Illinois, some of the different schools in the Big Ten, and Missouri. But the recruiting process was hard for me at the time, and I think a lot of kids would tell you the same thing. You're on the phone with these coaches and kind of building relationships, and it can be fun for a little bit, but then you realize really quickly that you're going to have to tell a lot of these people no, and I wasn't interested in getting too close with, my dad was a coach, and so I had kind of a different perspective on that. And
What did he coach?
he coached boys basketball at Winterset High School.
really?
Growing up. So I had a little different perspective on that, and I kind of just knew early that I needed to keep it very small in order for me to be comfortable with how this was all going to work. And so I only took a visit to Drake and Iowa for my only 2 visits.
Did your dad help you a lot?
He did, yeah. He, we spent a lot of time in the gym in the mornings and in the summer all the time. So, but he was he wasn't one that pushed me to do anything I didn't want to do. Just always willing to go rebound for me when I needed it.
Is he still coaching?
He is actually. He got out of it for a little while to watch me play, and then he got back in coaching the freshman boys there. And then one of the guys that he coached actually just got the head job for the varsity and asked my dad to be his assistant. So he's back
That's
with
great.
the varsity
At
basketball
Winterset?
team. At Winterset, yep.
That's great.
So, and he loves it, so it's really
Ah, that's great. And you still have other family in Winterset?
just my mom and dad, and then I have one brother.
And he lives there too?
He lives in Des Moines, so.
And did he play basketball? I assume
He did.
coach's son.
Yep,
Pretty
he
much
did.
have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a pretty good player too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where'd he
was.
go to school?
He came to Iowa as well.
He did?
Yep.
Very good.
What's on the career horizon?
Yeah.
So that's a good question. Probably one I need to think about a little more. But I'm currently back taking some classes to get my MBA. So I'm doing that through the Tippy College of Business here.
I think Lisa would be delighted if you'd stay right where you are for years to come.
Well, and I honestly probably will. It's a great place to work. I mean, it's not always about, the next step for me, just kind of about the people that I'm working with. I have obviously great respect for Coach Bluter and the whole staff. And
She's
played
special.
for him, and and she really knows how to. I mean, you can see it in the way the players play for her, and the staff that stays around. She just treats people really well, and we all feel a big part of the success.
She's so genuine.
Yeah.
I mean, we see Bill Fenley on the sidelines. We hear Bill Fenley on the sidelines. We see and hear these other coaches, whether they're men or women, and so many of them yell and scream and go after the ref. We had Lisa on here on the show, I don't know, last year maybe, and I asked her, how do you keep so cool when
She stomps her foot.
It hurts her.
she said, she stomps her foot, and she said that's what Jan is for, Jan Jensen, to get after the refs. Her demeanor on the sideline is really unique.
How hard is it to keep from quote-unquote coaching, either at practice or during a game? You can't speak to the players during a game, can you?
Right. Essentially, I can't have any kind of tactical conversations with the players.
Can you talk to them about an injured wrist or?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably some of those type of things. Our trainer usually takes care of some of that. Essentially in the games, I just kind of turn into it in practice as a cheerleader, more or less.
Can you speak to the other coaches if you see something?
Yes.
You can
Yep. I can.
tell Jan or Jenny or Lisa that such and such is going on?
Right. Kind of from more of a. They kind of describe it as tactical versus I can't remember the other. So more of like a statistic deal. If I see, on the bench, I track our defenses.
I was going to ask, you've always got a clipboard.
Yep, I do, and take that very seriously. But I track, when we're in zone or when we're in player, if we're pressing, and how often they're scoring, what the rate of that is. Because sometimes, you feel like you have a good feel for it, but then you look at the numbers and, gosh, our zone is way better than our player, and let's go to all zone. Those type of things I can keep track of and say. But, yeah, I basically become a cheerleader when it's practice time, and that's okay with me because that's kind of always, as a player, I had the role of, I was a captain, but I spent most of my time on the bench, and so I had the role of, I was kind of took it upon myself to.
That's a little modest.
Well, yeah, I backed up the point guard, great point guard, backed up Christy Smith, who was all Big Ten for 2 years, but I spent a lot of time on the bench, but I felt like that gave me a good view of what was going on, and I was able to really stay calm, kind of, because when you're not out there for 30 minutes, you're able to take a few more deep breaths, and that's what I always tried to do, was kind of build up my teammates. And
How about things like scrimmage? Are you permitted to, in a practice, scrimmage against the team?
I'm not. Nope.
You aren't?
Nope. Not allowed to. I'm really not allowed to touch a basketball when it's practice time. So
Do you have to be at practice each day?
I don't have to be. And early when I first started, I definitely wasn't because I just couldn't afford to take that much time out of my day and still get the rest of my job done. But as I've gotten better at what I'm doing, I have been able to go to practice. I try to be there all the time just because, number one, I want to know what's going on. I want to know what we're running and what our game plan is. And then the big part of the job is the relationships with the players. And I feel like you get that. The more you're around them, the more you get that. And so if I weren't at practice, I would miss that time with them. And again, I think it helps you feel invested and feel a part of it, and which then helps the longevity.
Abby, remind us who else played on that championship team in 2008, was it?
2008, yep. A tall team. We were a big team. I always think back to how tall we were. We had Megan Scobie, came off the bench, 6'7". Stacy Schlappcole was on that team, was in my class. Krista Vanabender. Johanna Salverson was redshirt senior. Sixth
That is
year
a big
senior.
team.
Yeah.
That was her
Janae
grandma.
Graham.
That was her
Jo-
6th year, right?
Yep. We kind of went 10 deep that year. We basically had a backup at every position, and the year before had kind of a rough year, and we really put an emphasis on defense for that year, and I think that honestly is what won us the championship. We had, if you weren't getting it done on defense, they had the next one coming in for you, and we really bought into that team defensive kind of thing, and we were able to ride it all the way to a championship.
Tell me about, do you have any recruits on the hook that aren't signed yet?
That aren't signed?
Can't talk about them.
Correct. We do
I don't
have.
want their names. I just want-
Yeah, we have commitments. We are done essentially with the next class coming in.
So
Okay.
this year's junior in high school, you've got the verbals
Right.
and.
So
just
you
have to wait
got
for
all them
signing day.
already?
Yep, there may be a little movement here or there depending on a couple things, but for the most part, we're set with that class.
Okay.
Tell us about the incoming freshmen,
Yeah,
please.
love to. Exciting group. 4 of them coming in.
Soon to be here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's always kind of a crazy transition for them because they'll, graduate, most of them right in June here, right at the start of June, and then they'll be here by June 10th for orientation and start classes on June 15th for the summer. So, Tanaya Davis is a little guard, probably about Whitney's size.
A little shorter than Whitney.
Yeah, maybe
Really?
even a little
Yeah.
shorter, but tough. I don't see them because I don't go out.
But she's listed an inch shorter.
Right, okay. And I don't go out recruiting, so I don't see them as much. I see them when they come to camp. But our coaches all say that she's just as tough as can be. And
She's listed at 5'4", and most people think she's 5'3".
Yeah. But they said she takes charges like they've never seen
But she
before.
was Miss Michigan basketball.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, meaning she was the best player in the
state
whole
of
state of
Michigan.
Michigan.
And we've got several Miss State basketball
Right.
winners.
Yep.
Who else?
Coming in?
Yes.
Okay, so Megan Gustafson is coming in from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. She's from way up north,
Way up.
right?
Port Wing, Wisconsin. Very small town.
I saw
small
some
school.
video of her games.
Yeah.
She towered.
Right. She's the all-time Wisconsin scoring leader. She, I think, scored 3,000 and some points in her career.
That's a lot of.
It's amazing.
That's a lot
Yeah.
of points.
And I mean, she's one of those things too where they say, she's getting triple teamed each game, but I mean, she's still having to finish.
Yep.
That's a lot of times putting the ball in the basket. So we're really excited about her. And she's got a little bit more size of a post than what we've had in the
Right.
past. So hoping she can help out with some of that toughness underneath too. And then we've got 2 forwards coming in. Hannah Stewart is from North Dakota, and she was Miss North Dakota basketball. And then Tegan Larson is from South Dakota. That's why I smile. I sometimes mix those up. And she also is a pretty good size forward that rebounds the ball really well. Hannah and Tegan both are going to bring a lot, at least to practice when it comes in the rebounding battle and trying to work on that.
My nephew's a sportscaster in South Dakota, and he told me you're getting a really good one
Yeah.
from us. It's
Is that on radio?
TV.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't think they had either one.
Oh, yeah, and, Sioux Falls has a TV station.
I forget where he is now. It's not Sioux Falls. I don't think. Anyway, he said that she's really special. He covered a lot of her games, and he said we got a good one. And then we've got one more, right?
No, just the four.
Okay,
Just the four, yeah.
That's exciting, and they'll all be here for the Game Time League
Correct.
in North Liberty. When does that start?
That, I
It's June, though.
June, it'll be, the June 15th, 16th, be like June 25th or something. We'll
Oh.
play Wednesday nights.
Wednesday nights.
Yep.
And are there 2 games each night, each Wednesday?
I believe that,
I don't think they've announced yet how many, it depends on how many teams
Teams, yeah.
they
and
have, and I don't think they've announced or decided
How's
probably
your
how
team
many
like it?
teams are gonna be in the league.
How does your team like it?
So it'll be either 2 or 3.
Good.
So one of your jobs is coordinating the travel, and you've got a big trip coming up this summer
You got home.
to Europe. Where are you going?
we're going to Italy.
Have you been there before?
No, have not.
The food,
Yeah.
the
that's-
wine,
Yeah.
and the
Now, is that,
The
you're
history.
working on dining and schedules
Yep,
like
those trips are a little different because we do go through a travel, basketball travelers, a company that
Is there a company that specializes in team
specializes,
travel?
Yeah.
basically,
What a
yep.
great
and
job that
taking-
would
be.
Yeah, yeah. So
Where are they located?
They're located out in Seattle, out in
Oh.
Washington, so, and they do tournaments throughout the year as well. Like, they do one in the Bahamas, and I think they have one in
Oh,
San
okay.
Diego, so they're just kind of,
That'd be great.
yep.
So will you be based in one city while you're there?
We are gonna hit 4 or 5 different cities. We're flying into Rome, spend a couple days there. We're gonna go to Florence, and spend a
wanna see
few
the Pope?
days.
You're gonna be buying some leather items in Florence. That's their specialty.
here, there.
Yep,
You'll
that's
go
what
to
we've heard.
the market. It's
Yep.
out, oh, that's gonna be
Yeah.
great.
He'd be a
You're gonna
good
love
backup
that.
man.
And the David statue is right there next to the market.
I'm gonna go see that, and that's the one other thing that I really appreciate about Coach Bluter and the way she does things is when we go on this trip and when we go on trips over Thanksgiving, she's very interested in giving these women a perspective, having them go over there and enjoy it and see things and learn.
Never
and,
forget.
And it's not just basketball when we go over there. She views it as more of a cultural experience. So
There's a tower in Florence. Are you going to be climbing the tower? That's a big tourist attraction. I don't know what it's called. I forget. But everybody climbs it
Yeah.
and looks out over the city and then climbs back down.
Are games scheduled yet?
they are in the works. We have, I think, 2 that are scheduled, and they're still trying to figure out
Do you do that, or is that done by this agency also?
That's done by this company as well. So.
And who are the teams that you play? Are they college-aged women or are they older?
It varies, because they have those club teams
Yeah.
over there. Like when I was playing, we went to Greece and we played the Greek national team actually 3 times. We played the same team
How'd that
all 3
work out?
times. There was almost a fight one game.
were
I
tough.
remember that they were tough, yeah. But it was good for us. I can't
Well, they were older.
remember if they were older. I can't remember if we won 1 and lost 2. I can't totally remember that, but I know it was a good challenge. With this previous trip we were on, we played 3 different teams. One was more of like a national team, and then the other 2 were younger club teams that we, handled pretty easily. So
Isn't Greece supposed to be, how many islands they got?
Bunch.
Millions of them.
yeah, it was a beautiful trip.
So
Greece was.
Rome, Florence, where else?
We're gonna take a 1 day to Cinque Terre, I believe is how you say it. It's 5 kind of small towns along the coast. Gonna try to do that. Then we're going to Venice. And then we'll end up in a smaller, little village off of Lake Como kind of area. And then we'll head back.
Now, where do you play in Rome?
I don't believe we have a game in Rome.
You don't have?
No, our games are later in the trip. I think there's one in Venice. and-
Watch out for the thieves.
Yeah, we did hear that.
They're terrible in Rome. Terrible. They'll break into your hotel, they'll pickpocket you,
Yeah.
it's bad. You gotta
Yeah, we
watch it.
usually have someone from the university, their cultural center, come over and speak to us about what to wear, what to expect,
Oh, okay.
how to speak, watch your wallets, those
Yeah.
kind of things. So,
Well, that's a trip of a lifetime, it sounds like.
definitely.
Is it a week?
It's 12 days.
Oh, good.
It's, 10 days over there, 2 days of travel, so.
While we're touching on the foreign trip, maybe we ought to give Abby a chance to talk about one of the funding mechanisms, which
Yes.
she's also
Oh, yeah.
working on and coming up fairly soon.
Thank you for that.
Yes. Thank you. Yep, we do have our, it's our one fundraiser each year that we do, and it directly benefits the foreign trip, which is obviously a great experience for our athletes, but also very important when it comes to recruiting, being able to talk about that. They're going to go overseas one time during their career. So we do have our annual golf outing is coming up on June 2nd, and we run that out at Finkbine Golf Course. Still have spots open for teams to play, take foursomes. It's a great day. I mean, I think it's a lot of fun always. Our whole team comes out and is out on the golf course, so people have a chance to meet them and speak with them a little bit. All of our coaching staff is there to have lunch, get them sent off for golf and hang out through the day. So we have a lunch, a full day's golf, 18 holes, and then we have a dinner
At Finkbine?
at Finkbine, all at Finkbine. So really nice day.
If I wanted to sign up for that, how would I do that?
You would go onto HawkeyeSports.com and the women's basketball page, there would be a link to a couple of forms that can be filled out. There's a sponsorship opportunity, and then there's also the opportunity to play. So both of those forms are on HawkeyeSports.com and can be filled out electronically and sent in.
Well, if I was not tech savvy, like say Bud Supel, could I pick up the phone and call somebody?
Absolutely, yep.
Who would I call?
You would call our office. You'd call, Lisa Piper would answer the phone and be very excited to take your call.
Yeah, Lisa's
Yeah,
great.
Yep.
It's
how
important to
much?
emphasize that you can, even if you can't play golf, you can still contribute and help subsidize this trip.
How's your golf game?
You know, my golf game has been pretty good as of late.
All right.
Yeah, I don't play a whole lot, and I think that helps. And I don't stress over it
Yeah,
too much. But yeah, it's been okay when I do get out there.
Now, are you also in charge of the summer camps, the basketball camps?
Yes, Jenny Fitzgerald and I kind of are the co-directors. She takes care of a lot of the on court, knowing how many teams we have and how many baskets we need and who goes where. I handle a lot of the rooming, the housing, the hiring of staff, the gear for the staff, all those different types of things.
Does it all take place at Carver, or do you still utilize the field house?
For our elite camp, which we have high-level varsity players in a smaller group, we run that all at Carver. It's a
Sure.
2-day camp, using both the practice and the main gym. And then for our regular camp, we run majority of it at the field house and do try to get them over to Carver maybe once throughout the 3-day camp.
My daughter and I were talking about that last night, and
You run into the boys,
Nope,
No.
we have our
they're
camp
separate. yeah.
one week, and then I think they have 2 camps and they're in different weeks.
when do the camps begin?
June 8th and 9th is our elite camp, so coming right up here as well. And then June 10th through the 12th, go right into our basketball camp after that.
Okay. And if you want to get your daughter signed up, what do you do?
Again, you could go onto HawkeyeSports.com and be a link there to take you to the registration page of that. It is all online registration.
It is.
Now has moved to that.
Okay. What are the costs for the camp if you're just a day camper?
I should have that off the top of my head, and I believe it's $225 for the day camper
Go ahead.
and $325 for the resident, I believe.
Oh, that's not bad.
They may be off just a little. I may
Yeah.
have to.
What about golf? What's the cost if you want to golf with the Hawkeye women's basketball team?
It's $500 for a foursome, so $125 per player. If somebody is on their own and isn't able to find a foursome, we do have some opportunities to pair up individuals for that $125 price. We can create a foursome. I know we have a former player that's wanting to come back and golf, and so she would be someone we could pair up with. And then we also have some athletic staff that always like to golf as well. So you don't have to have a foursome. If you're interested, can call our offices and we can make that work.
Well, what if I wanted to golf with Pat White?
That would not be a good experience.
He helps out so much that day that I keep him pretty busy, so he doesn't get a chance.
Do you need volunteers?
We could always use
Yeah.
a volunteer or two, yep, to maybe help out the day of, and then,
Give Lisa Piper a call, maybe?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And that again is June 2nd at Finkbine. What if it rains?
That's the tough part. We've had one rain out in the past few years here, and what they end up doing is Finkbine will let them come play another time.
Oh.
We'll kind of honor like
Yeah.
a rain check.
Have the lunch.
have
and
the lunch,
little
have-
talks.
Yep, have the kind of program portion.
Yeah.
tap the keg, and just kind of have some hospitality. But
Gonna be a beautiful day.
it will, and it has been. It has
But,
been.
you know, the people that golf traditionally, who've been doing it for a while, are pretty understanding about rain and having to come in, and the
Joe?
fact that the money is a contribution.
Yeah.
So we got 5 minutes. Okay, we're down to our last 5 minutes. I knew it would be like this. What else do you want to tell us about, Abby? I was going to get back to Italy for a second. 12 days in Italy. How many games?
3 games.
Oh, just 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the really nice thing about that is we get 10 days of practice leading up to the trip.
Oh, that's right.
So that's where we really view, that's when we have the most benefit on the court. The games are great, but those 10 days leading up, especially with 4 freshmen and 4 sophomores next year, that's going to be really
Those
beneficial
freshmen
to
are going to
have.
be wide-eyed over there,
Oh, yeah.
I'll bet.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
that-
such an opportunity.
Yep. It is a wild transition. As I mentioned, they graduate high school and start summer school. Then they go to Italy, come back, and I think they have 1 day, and then they start their fall semester. So
And when does fall basketball practice start?
normally we usually have the first week and let them kind of get settled in, and then after the first week of classes, we'll get started with individual workouts. But the practices where we're having our 20 hours a week usually start the first week of October.
The rules have changed very significantly in the last few years, to the point where they now are allowed summer workouts. So why don't you talk a little bit about the summer workout schedule?
Yep, this will be the 3rd summer where we'll be allowed to have these, essentially you get 2 hours a week on the court with your athletes. So you can do, 2 1-hour sessions, 1 2-hour session, however you decide to break it up. And you can do that for 8 weeks in the summer. Freshmen can only be there if they're in classes, so they will all come take classes, so you can do that. So it's a nice thing. It gives you just kind of more touches, more opportunity to see the athletes. Of course, in 1 hour, you don't get probably as much done as obviously you would with a little more time with just the 2 hours a week. But I think it's nice. We work on a lot of skill work at those times, have the whole team in, but we're working more on the individual aspects of it. And then once October hits, that's when you're focused mainly on the team.
Is there a pattern or practice of having them all at the same time, or do you break them down ever and have individual sessions?
In the past, we've done them all at the same time, and one of the main reasons is, the coaches' schedules are
Right.
tough too, so getting those 2 hours. But what I think we're gonna do this year is just a little different, because we do have those 10 days of practice. We have to be a little conscious of burnout with our kids. It's gonna be a long year, longer than what they're used to. So what I think we're gonna try to do is do just the 1 hour with only the freshmen, and that way we can really break things down from the very basics with them and get started with them, and that way you don't have your seniors hearing, something for the 4th time and having to go back and do something that they've already learned quite a bit. So we'll spend 1 hour with just the 4 freshmen, and then the other hour each week will be with the whole group.
Did you find this year that going to a read and react offense was harder for freshmen than traditionally going to a fixed or patterned offense?
Good question.
Yeah, we've run the read and react for quite a few years now. I think it is hard for freshmen because of kind of what I mentioned with Whitney, is they're all coming from a system where they have to do a lot. When they catch the ball, it's more their skill that's getting things done, and when we put them into this offense, we're relying on the offense to make this stuff happen. So instead of catching and doing it on their own, they're now catching and having to look at everything in the offense and make reads. Whereas, if you're running a motion or a triangle offense, you have specific things that you're going to do each time. Well, now you're going to make reads. And so their first year, it's a little bit harder, but I think it makes them better basketball players as it goes on. And then like you see with Melissa and Sam and Bethany, then they know exactly, they're making all the right decisions by that, 3rd and 4th year, and it really pays off.
We've been
I wanna
visiting
go
with
back
Abby
to
Emmert. Go ahead.
go back to those 4 recruits.
We don't have time anymore. We're out of time. I hate to say it. We've been visiting with Abby Emmert, Director of Basketball Operations for the Hawkeye women's basketball team. Abby, thank you very much. You've got a very busy summer. You've got golf. You've got the Game Time League, trip to Europe. You've got orientation for freshmen. There's never a dull moment.
That's true, yep, we're
Appreciate
excited.
you taking the time out today to visit with us here on Sports Opinion, which you can view every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on Channel 18. We're on again on Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Or you can tune in to patv.tv and see any of the old shows, or you can go to my Facebook page and see it there too. Or Pat's, because I always tag it on his, even though he never goes there. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we want to wish Carol a happy recovery and good luck eating Bud's cooking. That's all I got to say. Thanks again, and remember, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks. Whoop 'em good.